Hi guys, IronHeart here, and I've got a really interesting Hell Let Loose developer diary to run through for you. This time we're taking an in-depth look at the armour rework coming to the game in Update 10. So let's see how tanks and vehicles will be changing. One of the key areas of the rework for the team behind Hell Let Loose has been manually building and applying accurate armour hitboxes to all vehicles in the game. Currently, shells or AT rockets could strike small pieces of geometry on the exterior of a vehicle like a hook or spade, and it would lead to random bounces or a non-penetrating explosion, or in fact damage to the vehicle. The devs want to get rid of this kind of random and very unsatisfying gameplay, where some vehicles could be destroyed in a single shot or some other totally random outcome could occur. By reworking all of these hitboxes, they say they have now assured a very binary outcome that can be learned and relied upon. What this means is that players can expect a more reliable kind of tank-on-tank combat. You'll be able to learn where particular tanks are weakest and target those areas to ensure kills, rather than shooting your target and simply hoping for the best. As part of Update 10's armour rework, we'll be getting new and distinct sound and visual effects for penetrating shots, non-penetrating shots, i.e. those that explode outside the tank, and ricocheting shots. The tank shell flyby sounds have also been greatly improved, which should make for the experience of tank combat on the battlefield being more epic for tank crews and any nearby infantry witnessing that action. The resource costs of tanks, which cost fuel in Hell Let Loose, will also be changed. We will see more medium tanks on the battlefield because the heavy tanks will simply cost a lot more to spawn for commanders, so they will need to be smart about how they spend their precious fuel. In fact, the devs have said that the Tiger 1, the Jumbo and the IS-1, and eventually the Tiger 2, IS-2 and the Pershing heavy tanks will not be part of the base roster of vehicles, i.e. they won't be available from the very start of the game. Instead, only light and medium tanks will be available at the very start, and commanders will have to choose to spawn those more expensive and heavy vehicles. This is more historically accurate because those late war heavy tanks weren't very common on the battlefield. Another cool feature coming with Update 10 is the ability to target the engines of tanks and knock those out with well-placed anti-tank rifle shots or other anti-tank weapons. This adds another layer of anti-tank gameplay. Rather than delivering a critical hit which destroys the enemy tank, you'll be able to first knock out its engine, immobilizing it, making it a sitting duck for other anti-tank weapons. According to the developers, the engine will be disabled if the engine compartment reaches 0%, and will only be enabled again if it is fully repaired back up to 100%. The way gears work is also being tweaked. The devs are changing the system so that lower gears will allow more maneuverability, while higher gears will allow faster speeds in a straight line at the sacrifice of maneuverability. Tank combat is also changing. Mirror matchups, i.e. a medium tank versus another medium tank, will require 2 penetrating shots to kill your opponent. Shooting a higher class tank requires 2 to 3 penetrating shots, while shooting a lower class tank only requires 1 or 2 penetrating shots to achieve a kill. In addition, handheld anti-tank weapons are being nerfed to require an additional rocket to destroy heavy tanks. So, as of Update 10, it will require 3 bazooka rounds in the back of a Tiger to destroy it, as opposed to the current 2 rockets. Some of the changes to behavior of certain armor types are as follows. Tank barrels can now ricochet shots. Tank copulars can now ricochet. Tank copulars will only transfer damage to the turret rather than the hull, and tracks can now be damaged by high explosive shells. Tracks will also no longer be exploited to bypass the hull armor, and tracks will not ricochet shells. Some of the other changes which are coming to the game which will affect tank gameplay are that bazookas and Panzerschrecks can no longer be reloaded while sprinting, so you'll find it harder to kite tanks around. The repair speed of blowtorches and repair stations has been increased. Satchel charges will now destroy any vehicle instantly, and they can now be placed on the tracks of tanks. Tank barrels will produce slightly less smoke when firing, so it will be easier for gunners to see their targets after each shot. And as previously mentioned, heavy tanks have been removed from the automatic HQ spawns, so commanders will have to specifically spawn them in. But each HQ will also get a transport truck. Before, they were only available at one of the HQs at the start of the game. The duration for entering and exiting tanks will be increased, as well as the duration of switching seats within tanks. When firing your tank from uneven ground, shells will no longer travel at a weird offset. This was quite annoying as you had to stop on level ground to ensure any kind of accurate shooting. Update 10 will also see some general physics and sound effects improvements. These include reducing the likelihood of getting stuck between objects, reducing the likelihood of vehicles bouncing off objects at speed, reducing the ability of lighter vehicles to knock around heavier ones, so you won't see any more light tanks ramming tigers. They will reduce the jittery behavior of vehicles when stationary or between objects, and they will improve the ability of trucks to climb steep angles. Some of the sound effects changes which are coming in are new sound effects when colliding with objects, entering and exiting vehicles, switching between seats, and tank, engine, and track sound effects are being updated too, as well as the turret reverse sound effects. Let's have a quick look at some of the vehicles coming in Update 10. We have the IS-1 heavy tank, which is armed with the powerful 85mm D5T gun. We also have the BA-10 armoured car, which will act as a Soviet recon vehicle. It is only lightly armoured and has a 45mm gun. That's all the updates I have. I'm really looking forward to trying out tanks in Update 10. The armour rework sounds very promising, and if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe button, and stay tuned for more Hell Let Loose action.